Hello, I'm Lisanne Miller with W, Cushing and Company, and in cooperation with Rug Hooking Magazine, for May's Third Thursdays with me, we are going to do mixed media. Hookable yarns, hookable fur, hookable cotton to replace using recycled t-shirts, things that you really can't walk on. So what we're going to explore today is different things, different techniques, different mixed media, but every one of these mixed medias can be used with wool, and they are all hookable. If you want to add mixed media to your rugs, make sure that it is hookable, that it is durable. If it's not durable, then really you shouldn't add it in. And some of these really aren't to be walked on, but doing wall hangings, doing covers for a table, table runners, chair seats, even covers for a chest or end of the bed, these fibers all work great. So this is going to be a really fun lesson, so let's dig in. All right, first, if you're going to use a different mixed media, it's good, just like you do with your wools, to make a sampler. And I'll show you all of the different fibers and then maybe a little bit more that we're going to go over today. These are the furs. These two are the furs. We have a massive amount of colors. This is the gray and cream. This is the pink. We have solid black. We have a cream and black. What I like about these, if you're doing something like the Rug 3 Mimis and you need to do the fur collar, if you're going to do a bunny or an animal, these all hook very nicely. They hook nicely because you have your thread, your cotton, and then you have the fur. So with having this and keeping it like a noodle, and I'll show you how to hook with it as well, this allows you to keep most of the fur on top and very little on the bottom. So if we look at the bottom of this, you will see there's very little on the bottom. And I didn't try to keep a minimal amount, I just hooked it to see it, but you can see very little on the bottom. So that is our fur. And we are getting it in a light blue. We have it in gray. And we also have it in blue. And blue works well for your Santas, again for something like the 3 Mimis. And every color is soft. These are really, really wicked soft as well. Ollie thinks that they're little kittens and he loves them too. The next thing is fluff. Now we call this fluff because it looks like fluff. This is the beige fluff, and we have the white fluff. And here is the white fluff. Again, we have this, it's almost a bound cord and then the fiber. So when you hook with it, what you want up front on top stays on top, and you have a very nice base. Now this is a little bit thinner than the fur. You can double strand it. I prefer to single strand it. This looks great, especially if you're doing hooked ornaments, bunny tails, anything like that, to put the top on a stocking, to add fur. If you didn't want to use the fur around Santa, you could use this. The fluff really is nice. It's all cotton. It looks great. It hooks great. This is the beige fluff. And the beige fluff has if you concentrate, you have very little on the bottom. So that is our fluff. Now the velvets. A lot of you love the look of velvet. You don't want to hook with velvet fabric. You don't want to have to cut it. You don't like the flyaways. So after a couple of people coming to me and asking me, we used to have these velvets from England in our old shop P is for Primitive. So I picked up the phone, called England, and once again we have the velvets, and we have two types of velvet. This is our standard velvet. It comes in many, many colors. And it hooks beautifully, it's done beautifully, but why it hooks so well is it has a core. Because it has a core, when you go to hook it, this hooks like a noodle. This does not hook like fabric that you have to fold. It hooks just like a noodle. So we have these velvets in umpteen colors, from teal to gold to red to green. You can hook a Santa suit in it. It just hooks wonderfully. It has a nice vintage feel. And then we have, which is behind me, the bohos. The boho velvets have a worn look. They're called the bohos. They have a little bit of a worn look. They are a tad thinner, so if this was a 5, maybe a 6, but we'll call it a 5, this is a 4. The boho has more to look more worn, more aged, to add a different look. And the bohos are wonderful. We have a multitude of colors. This happens to be lime. And we have them in groups of colors, as you can see here. One of our most popular colors in the boho is the denim. And the denim will hook like a pair of denim jeans. Or you can add it to your denim wool as an accent. These are the bohos, and this is our regular velvet. So the bohos, when you hook them, here is a boho. This is the lime hooked. Here is the lavender hooked, and these are our regular velvets. Next, we're going to go into the boucles. Now, there are different types of boucles. We have a curly boucle. The curly boucle, again, is on a cord. Some people double strand this. If you really want it to look like fur, the single strand and a smaller hook pays off. The dividends pay off. We also have, this is an alpaca merino boucle. It's a lot fuzzier. This is curly. And also, this is the color of the alpaca merino boucle. Well, that's a great color. This is wool, as we all know. So that allows you to dye the boucle into any color you would like. And I have dyed, this is almost denim colors in the boucle. It takes our dye very well, the Cushing dye very well. And this is the start of a groundhog boucle for Puxatani fill. Somebody's hooking it and we're getting ready to make it into a groundhog boucle. So you will get straightation of color, you will get tones and values, and this is the alpaca merino, which likes to attach. Alpaca merino, and it's a little bit fuzzier, a little bit thinner. So they are the boucles, curly, merino, alpaca. Next is our metallics. We have a wide variety of metallics. We love the metallics. The metallics are like a 4-cut. We have a lot of different colors. If you're going to hook your metallics, and why I love the metallics is if you're hooking a vintage postcard series, the vintage postcard series allows you to add gilt to it to make it look like the vintage postcards did from the early 1900s. We have raspberry, we have pearl, denim, a lot of different things. They hook beautifully, but I am going to caution you to hook them last. If you hook them in last as the accent, of course we all know whatever we hook in last stays on top, and so it looks more like gilt. This is the denim one, and here is the teal one hooked. I love to hook with these. They make nice definition lines, and on the back they're as flat and nice as can be. Now and here is the last one that's on the sampler. This is our cotton jersey that comes in spools. And here is the cotton jersey hooked. The cotton jersey is not recycled cotton. It is cotton that is milled. You can knit with it, you can crochet with it, but you most certainly can hook with it. It hooks like an 8.5. It adds a sense of antique to your rug because, as we all know, not all the rugs from the 1800s were wool. They used what they had, and this is the rose-colored one. But then we brought in the cotton for those of you that love to dye, and we use our direct dyes. And this is our white jersey cotton. and you can dye it in any color you would like. Or you can dip dye it for a range of colors. And this is great to use, great to experiment with. And this is the blue. Now, you can also over dye on the light blue. We will be getting in fall colors. It's only May. So we will be getting in fall colors to hook your dimensional pumpkins, your Indian corn, accents to your fall leaves. So this is really nice. It's a little more stable product than cutting up t-shirts and looks beautiful when it's hooked. On the other side of it, as flat as it can be. One of the things not on my sampler is our hand-dyed yarns. Our art yarns are hand-dyed. They're variated. They are one of a kind. They add a one of a kind whether you hook or punch. You can see all the variation of color. This happens to be a tweed that I did. And when you look for a good hand-dyed yarn, you want a lot of color. You want to be able to have it like a dyed piece of wool. If you were to hook this, punch this, or whip with this, it would look as if you had hand-dyed it. And this is one of many. This is another tweed that was over-dyed in softer colors. You can see this in a nautical rug or as the binding for a nautical rug. Darker colors, this is our standard wool that we dye, our wool yarn, and you can see all the colors going through. And you don't get a skein like this, you'll get a skein like this to make it easy to punch or hook. And this makes it very nice. But when you're looking at the dyed yarns, you have to make sure you don't want them solid. You want them variegated, you want them soft. You want to make sure there's no white per se, to make sure everything is dyed through. Everything that we would look for in a dyed wool, we looked for in our dyed yarn. So, and here is a few more. And then this is a tweed again. They're great additions. They're great to whip with, if you whip. As we all know, Lisanne does not whip because it looks like a hoop skirt in the wind. We also always have our burley spuns. Our burley spuns hook like an 8. They're wonderful. I love to use the white on Santas. This makes great reindeer. It makes great animals. This is our sable. And we have other colors in there. Always a standard, always well spun, so you don't get a lot of flyaways. There's not a lot of flyaways. They hook well. If you can hold it like this and it looks like a noodle, it will hook like a noodle, as long as it has that strength. Same here, no flyaways. Everything looks great. This is our mohair. And the mohair can be what we call a leader. The mohair can go along with a boucle if you want it a little fuzzier. The mohair can go along with your wool, or you can just absolutely hook it to create a fantastic look for an animal, or as a beard, or whatever your hooking project is. Now this is just in, and this is new. These are just in, and these are a little bit different, a little bit of glitz. Okay. Now, if you are a knitter, you would know this is what you would string along with your regular yarn, and you would add a little bit of glitz to it. Well, that's the same exact thing that we will do with our hooking. If you wanted a little glitz added in, a little glimmer, or if you are hooking a night sky, you wanted a little shine and a little star, and you didn't want to go back and put in with the Arctic rays, this works. Now, this does not work by itself. You have to use it either with a noodle, a cut piece of wool, or maybe even a boho, or something like that. And these are just some of the colors that they will be coming in, and they will come on these spools. So if you really wanted to make something stand out, you could put these two together and hook them together. Nice, different, you get the silk of it, And you know how we pleat wool to see how it looks? Well, you can wrap this around your finger to see how this will add to it. And the sequins will pop up. Again, it's not overdone, it's just a little bit to add in. So these are our newest sparkle. So let's see how some of these hook, and then I'll hook some in. Here we have Jack and Jill. I know a lot of you have seen this online. So here is our Jack and Jill. This was done with wool. I did not add in any of the velvet. But as you can see, after I hooked his coveralls, I started to add in all of the glint. And this is the denim glint added in. It's added in after, it fits in nicely. This is the boucle. This is the boucle single-stranded. I like it single-stranded. It is worth the extra effort to single-strand it. His little tail is that. And that is Jack. Now Jill got a little fancy because it is Easter. She is all dressed up. She has a regular velvet dress, not boho, but our regular velvet. But in here is our raspberry metallic. And this is our raspberry metallic to add shadow and definition. In here and in here. Here is just regular dyed wool, and you can see they go very well together along with the boucle. So we have our regular velvet, our metallic, the boucle, and just dyed wool. And here in her little pad, you can see the boucle, and I left a place, and I just put in a wool strip to show her little pad on her foot. So these are a lot of fun. It hooks very well, and it looks really nice when you're done. Obviously, this is not going to go on the floor, but it makes a great wall hanging. So, how do these hook? We've seen them. You've seen them hooked. Let's hook a few. The first thing is, and this is, because some of you will ask, lamb's tongue and bunny tails pattern. First thing that I noticed is when you're going to hook with either the boucle or the fur, you have to go to a smaller needle. This happens to be a 4mm. You can use a fine needle. When you do that, it allows you to grasp the entire bit of the fiber. So we're going to start with some fluff. We need some fluff on that tail. You're going to hold it like a noodle underneath, and you're going to pull it on top, just like a regular noodle. So she'll go in, and those that pack are going to love this because you have to hook it a little bit tighter. No, I'm not giving you permission to pack, but you do have to hook it a little bit tighter. And if you noticed, as I'm getting done with the fluff, okay, I am pulling it up to make sure that the fluff is on top. When I pull it up, I'm pulling it up by that cotton core, that almost braided crocheted line that the fluff is on. And I'm making sure that it's on top. I can feel that I'm not getting a lot on the bottom with my left hand. My left hand is running across, and I'm just pulling in and pulling up. Now, don't do this. Make sure you're still slanted so you don't pull the one behind you. And you can go around, you can outline and fill, you can go back and forth. Just like in hooking, the more that you do, the more it will lock itself in. So that starts the fluff. That is the fluff. And as you can see, it's not too high, it's high enough, it looks great. Now, let's look at the mohair for a minute. Mohair, this hooks very nicely. Again, I'm going to stay with a smaller hook, and I'm going to hook some of this in. Now, here is my fluff. Here is my mohair. I'm going to pull my end up, just like I would as a noodle, and I'm going to hook it. And I'm going to hook it as high as I would a 6 cut normally. Don't want to go below a 6 cut. You don't want to hook it too low. It has a little bit of that texture to it. It looks like a dyed piece, and you're just going to hook it in. And as you hook it, it looks more and more like fur. So that is what the mohair would hook like. Well, maybe you don't want mohair, maybe you want some fur. So you want to put in a gray bunny with a white tail. Here's our fur. Again, here's that line that we want on the bottom. So maybe we want this to be furry, or maybe we wanted a fur tail. As you can tell, it pops right up. And that's usually when we get Ollie's attention. And I keep going in. Now this we don't pack. This you need to leave about 3 or 4 holes because it fills in so nicely. You will have holidays underneath, but as you can tell, this fills in just lovely. This would make a great tail. This would make an absolutely wonderful tail. Or you can use the fluff, it's up to you. But as you can tell, it fills a lot quicker than the mohair did. Okay, so we have fluff, mohair, fur. Let's get a carrot. And I happen to have some orange velvet. And here's the orange velvet. Here is the orange velvet, okay? And this is not the boho, this is the regular. You can see the core, you'll trim it off later. And then what you're gonna do right now is just hook this. You can outline and fill it. You can outline and fill, outline and fill. I'm hooking it the height of a 6 cut. I want it to really look soft. I want it to look nice. I really, really want that to be lovely, just lovely. And it would be a nice soft carrot in here. And so I would outline the entire thing. My second row is going to be very, very close. Very close. And you're going to fill in. So you get the look of velvet, and it's not really shiny, it's a nice velvet, and it will look just like a nice velvet carrot. Or you could make it a velvet bunny, whatever you'd like. But let's add a metallic in for these lines. So we're going to add in an espresso. That's the name of this one. We're going to add this in for the lines. Again, it's like a 4. And if you want to switch your hook, you can go into your fine lucky hook for your metallic. So you get a really good line. And as you can tell, it hooks really well. And adds in very nicely. And then you can hook your velvet around it and it would make the lines. For on top, we're going to do, on top of the carrot, we're going to do a boho. And you can see the boho is a little faded, a little more variation of color. We're going to go around for the boho. Just like that. And that is the boho. The boho is a little thinner. You fill it in. It does bloom, as I like to say, when you bring it on top. And that is the boho. Now, let's look at the cotton. And this is a great rug to try your mixed media on. It's a great table runner. There's a lot that can be done with this, with the mixed media. You can use any pattern, an abstract pattern, anything you like, even the vintage postcards. So now I'm going to do the cotton, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to show you how the cotton hooks. Here we bring it up, and now I need to go to a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go back to my 4, I'm going to slide in and pull up. And this just hooks beautifully because it is made to withstand everything. It looks like the jersey, but it pulls up wonderful, nice and even, and it is a really nice look. In the colors, or if you dye your own, it adds a beautiful look to some of our older patterns, but adds a little bit more modern look. You'll be breathing some new life into vintage patterns. And see, this really hooks beautiful as well. Just like that. If you want to start with a chair pad or a pillow, these work really, really well. So there we are. So let's go over this again so you understand what we've done. This is the cotton. The last thing we did was the cotton. This hooks like an 8.5, 8.5. It just looks vintage. You can dye it, do what you like. We started with the fluff. The fluff can be a tail, it can go on a stocking, it could go on a mitten as a cuff. This is our mohair. The mohair is beautiful because of all the different shades in the mohair, and that really makes it look more like fur. Here is our fur, and you have to admit it looks just like fur. It looks really, really well. It hooks well. It fills in quite quickly. Very, very quickly. And this is a single tone, and the two tones, it looks real. Ask Ollie, he thinks it is. This is our regular velvet, and I love the regular velvet. It fills in beautifully. That's what I did Jill's dress in, and this would make an awesome velvet carrot. Our metallics. Metallics, great for highlights, great to draw your eye to something, give definition to. It's not too bright, but adds enough. Our boho velvets. And the boho velvets are a little bit smaller. They look a little worn. They just have a nice feel to them. They hook beautifully. They really hook beautifully, and they just give you that nice worn look. So you can add your wool in at this point. It is up to you. You can add wool yarn in, and I am going to hook a little bit with one of our dyed yarns so that you get to see what it looks like hooked. So I'm going to take a tweed. Now this will go in a number 14 Oxford punch as well, for those that like to punch, and get a very different look. But you would pull it up. It's about, I'd say, a 4 or 5 noodle. You just let it go. If you notice it's not flying away, it's not splitting, it's not unstable, it's not fuzzing. So it's a good dye, it's not over dyed, there's no white core, and you can see the different colors popping up along with the tweed. So this acts just like a dyed piece of wool. And when you do a dyed piece of wool, you like all the variations in color. And this acts like one of our spot dyes, just like one of our spot dyes. So you can see there's variation of color, you get a little bit of the tweed, and that looks nice. If you don't like the tweed, you can go with another of our art yarns. And our art yarns here, again, they're all one of a kinds, they're all unique. Our art yarn does not have the tweed in it. But you can see the browns are coming up. Oop, got a little bit of a fluff or cotton on the bottom there. We don't want that. So we're going to continue with that. And you can see the different colors start to come up, the different hues. This also makes a great binding wool as a finished edge. And you can see here comes some of the blues now, the darker blues. And again, what you would expect makes great rocks. What you would expect out of a dyed piece of wool is what you're getting out of our art yarns, our hand-dyed art yarns. And you never know what colors I'm going to come up with, so we have every color known to man. We've dyed every color, and there goes my hook. So it's up to you, but make sure, if you notice, there's no white core. There's nothing at all showing, it's not fuzzing, it can be walked on. These can go into rugs that are walked on. So these are great things to experiment with, great things to have fun with. You can incorporate these a little or a lot. It's up to you for the look that you would like. So I hope you enjoyed this. This is a really, really fun segment. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy the yarns. They add just a little bit of oomph to your project, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Now next month, we are going to do something a little different. So we are going to talk about breathing new life into old patterns, and we're going to talk about prudence. And we're going to talk about color plans for prudence. And we're going to talk about the way we updated prudence, a very simple pattern that used to be done in values and swatches, and we updated the way that that pattern looks to a very modern look. A very modern look. And I will be talking about how to hook this, how to attack this, how to color plan prudence. We have 3 different sizes of prudence, from room size to the medium size to pillow. It's also a good way to experiment with what we just talked about with the mixed media. And this was a Zoom class that I taught, so after June's video, we will have a little slideshow of all the different color plans, so you can see this done in about 45 different ways. But I will talk to you about how to attack this pattern and how to make it a little more modern. So I hope everybody is well. I hope you stay well and be well, and I'll see you next month. Bye for now.